It's been a long road since the original Kicker christened that first pickup truck. It kicked off a car audio renaissance, and upgrading your music in a vehicle was a requirement. America's music machines became living loud over your passion, your emotion, your existence. Outdoors or on the open road, your sound is Kicker.
Hey guys, Cruz Pedregon here, coming to you from our race shop in Brownsburg, Indiana. I want to say thank you for checking out the Kicker Unmasked show. From speakers to their headphones, I've always been a huge fan of Kicker Audio because they like to live loud, just like our Nitro Funny Car. I'm very proud to be part of the family.
It's the Kip and Dave Show.
Excitement.
Are you ready?
22. We're doing it one more time. We're going to do another one. We're going to do this right this time. Check. I'm Smeatlish.
Camera adds 27 pounds.
Okay.
It just seems like a
I know.
rough it's just
kind of, yeah.
This is Dave.
And Kip.
Come check us out. This is Kip.
And Dave.
And I got it wrong again. And we're going to have to do this again because we went down a different trail. Until then, this is Dave.
And Kip.
Come check us out. Come check us out.
Yeah.
Wiki.
I think that's good.
Just pick one. God, I hate the ending. There's no way to end this.
Just say, come see us. Just come see us. And just come see us.
So.
Come see us at the two locations.
God, it just seems so hard.
Oh, howdy. Delmar Hogwallop here, coming to you from outside Mildred's Bait Shop and Lingerie. Want to appreciate you all coming, giving a look-see in on the Kicker Unmasked show. Those folks at Kicker, salt of the earth, make some of the finest gear ever tickle your ear. So, mighty fine of you to come take some time off and check them out. And remember, whether you're looking for night crawlers or nighties, Mildred's is your place. So once again, hey, son, put down that armadillo and get some pants on. Oh, my Lord, kids.
Music is my passion, my livelihood, and it's in my DNA. My pals at Kicker Marine Audio gave me a chance to take the music, what I love and listen to, at home, on stage, and in the car, onto the water. Hi, this is Jason Bonham, and I want to say a big thank you to my friends at Kicker Audio for inspiring the songs and the stories behind the music that inspires America. Go overboard!
The KICKER Quad Box is the most insane, ground-pounding, bass-head-loving, preloaded subwoofer enclosure we have ever offered. It consists of 4 L7R 12-inch subwoofers. It has a total power handling of 2,400 watts RMS, and it's tuned at an amazing 31 hertz. Here to tell us more about it is KICKER's very own Jeremy Brown.
Hi, my name is Jeremy Brown. I've been with KICKER for 22 years. I work in the research and development department. In the early 2000s, I would run the Gates Bronco at shows like Daytona. We would do hair tricks, 48 10-inch subwoofers with 48 1,000 watt amplifiers. Really big build back in that day. We were able to develop some high output enclosures that were up above the 170 dB mark. We set a few world records with some of those enclosure designs and our woofers. We learned a lot about high output enclosure designs during that time, and we've been able to bring that to our product lines today. Within the last year, we introduced a new subwoofer enclosure with 4 L7R 12s that we call the Quad Box. Our Quad Box is built out of 3/4 inch birch. It's got a 1.5 inch baffle and a 1.5 inch bottom. We also use window frame bracing along with corner bracing to make the enclosure more rigid. We use a flared port to reduce port noise and increase port surface area. This type of vent design helps maximize output. We use the L7R 12-inch subwoofers because this allows you to use one KXA 2400.1 amplifier, and you still get big bass with fewer upgrades to your charging system. The KICKER Quad Box is the bass head starter kit, and if you're worried, it plays way below 40 hertz.
Do not attempt to adjust this transmission. We have assumed control.
The year is 1980. Music fights for its very survival in an acoustically desolate wasteland man calls automobile. Enter Steve Irby, a man whose love of music helped end this scourge forever and forge a path for modern car audio to follow. A humble musician with a passion for quality sound, Mr. Irby is a man who feels it is his destiny to provide a sanctuary for mobile audio. Welcome. Join us this evening as we venture back to the very night a young Steve Irby gains his inspiration to create the legacy we know today as KICKER Performance Audio. Though he does not realize it now, by this time tomorrow, Mr. Irby will have completed blueprints for the original KICKER and champion the war against mobile audio inequality. Tonight, Mr. Irby's prayers will be answered as he begins his quest into the Q Zone. KICKER L7QB8. With roots dating back to KICKER's inception, Mr. Irby and his team of engineers have achieved an unrivaled level of design and functionality. With extraordinary bass and a minimal footprint, the L7QB8 utilizes a seamless 1/4 inch extruded aluminum housing, allowing optimal internal air volume for the subwoofer. This exclusive design provides exceptional strength and stability. Like the original KICKER, the L7QB8 incorporates a unique passive radiator to minimize required airspace while optimizing the efficiency and frequency response of the subwoofer. Opposite the passive radiator, the L7QB8 is equipped with the all-new 8-inch L7 square subwoofer,
The 2016 L7 features an aluminum basket for exceptional strength and thinned aluminum heat sinks for efficient heat dissipation. KICKER's blue lace spider, solo cone 360-degree back bracing, and a laser-etched cone brace combine as a single ultra-rigid unit. The result is increased clarity, higher volume, and added reliability. The square cone features over 20% more surface area than round subwoofers. It's attached to a Santoprene surround, then stitched to the cone for long life and durability. This surround features KICKER's patented ribbed corners, which fully dictates cone motion and extends surround life. At the base of the unit, a pair of custom-formed flanges integrate seamlessly with an extremely low-profile mounting system, consisting simply of a mounting plate and ball. Once installed, the overall height of the enclosure is only 9.5 inches. This profile is small enough to work perfectly in countless trucks, sedans, and SUVs. Once again, KICKER sets a new standard with the groundbreaking design and unparalleled performance of the all-new L7 QB8.
7:30 Central Time. You know what time it is. It's Kicker Unmasked Live Weekly. Welcome to the show, folks. I'm Kip, your host for Kicker Unmasked Live, and a little fancier on my drink cup tonight. It's got the stainless steel tumbler going on. Ernie's not stealing my drink tonight, folks. It's just water, but it's important when you're on the air for 90 minutes. You got to keep the palate wet. With that said, we got a little bit of housekeeping we're going to take care of. The first thing I want to bring up is, if you haven't noticed, we did kind of a whole revamp on the studio over the last week. We've done a lot of work on coloring, getting lighting set up in a different way. We felt we had a really good broadcast going on to begin with. Hopefully you noticed that we've kicked it up, not just a couple notches, but we've kicked it up a whole nother level on color, how things look, and things like that. We certainly hope you appreciate it. We like keeping things fresh like that, and we think this is going to be one of the best video presentations that you've seen from us ever. Not that the other ones were bad, but this is just going to be up there, that other level. So I'm really going to give a big shout out to Jeremy Wynn. I want to give a shout out to Ernie Ficklin, Tim Smith, my guy behind the camera. They spent a lot of time getting this set up and worked. And then, of course, myself, I came in at the end, did a little bit of work to help them out. But the studio's looking fantastic. We got some great products on display behind us. Of course, the Unmasked Live Event t-shirt, which is over my other shoulder now. I got to get used to where that's located at. So, welcome to the show, everyone. Hey, Jeremy, if you could you bring up the StreamYard feed so I can see the comments over on the screen? It would just click that switcher and give me the other screen. That'll give me that. But, you know, something that we did, and it was kind of an impromptu thing. There you go. Thank you, Jeremy. Kind of an impromptu thing that we did yesterday is we ran a 24-hour contest, and we went live with the link. I did a very late for me, I guess, although I do tend to stay up till about 12:31 in the morning every night. But about 11:15, I went live to kind of let everybody know that we'd posted what was going on. And I'm going to give a shout out to 25 Hertz to Life, because he's the guy that kind of keeps running that into us. And he's like, you know, you guys have a meal. Wouldn't it be great if you could give everyone pizza? Of course, we can't give everyone who's watching Unmasked Live pizza, but hey, we thought it'd be a great idea. Let's run a contest, and we'll let the lucky winner, we'll give him a full pizza deal on Unmasked Live so he can have dinner with us. You know, we have it before the show. He can have it during the show on us. So it was a contest to win a pizza. So we ran that contest for 24 hours. We didn't really announce it any other way, so it was really just kind of an instantaneous drop it, let's see what happens. Man, we had a ton of response on that. We had a lot of people enter to win that contest. And then this afternoon, myself and Ernie and Jeremy, along with our product guy upstairs who helps us design and keep everything on track to designing products, Bart Deal. He actually joined us for kind of just a quick, loose 30-minute discussion this afternoon on just some topics. We answered a few questions, and we wanted to remind people that that pizza contest was going on. So we did pull a winner, and I want to let you guys know who won the pizza. Now, he didn't get the information until too late to get his pizza for tonight. So we've already been in communication with him, and he's here actually here in the chat feed if you want to ask him questions or rib him. But it's actually Jesse, and I hope I pronounced the last name properly, Strawn, S-T-R-A-H-N, Jesse Strawn. And he's actually from here in Owasso, Oklahoma. So homeboy from right here in the state of Oklahoma, he was our winner for the Unmasked Pizza Contest. And what we're going to do is we asked him if he'd be okay with it, and I think he said yes. If not, Bill can chime in the comment section there. But we're going to set this up so it'll deliver to him for next Tuesday during the Unmasked show, so he'll have his thing. And what he won was a large or extra large pizza, either a specialty or up to 7 toppings from whatever local national chain that you happen to like, Domino's, Pizza Hut. Take your pick. We don't really care, just as long as it's close to you. We're going to get you set up with some breadsticks to go along with that and some dipping sauce, whatever the chains offer. Of course, a 2-liter bottle of soda, so you got something to drink and wash that pizza down with. And last but not least, you got to have dessert. So brownies, cinnamon sticks, whatever they might offer. But Jesse Strawn from Owasso, Oklahoma, he is our first kind of off-the-cuff contest winner for the pizza contest. We really were impressed with the traction we got on that and the number of people who participated. So this is what I'm going to tell you. You guys know that Kicker Unmasked Live Weekly, it's every Tuesday night, 7:30 Central Time, right here on the Kicker Facebook and YouTube channels, and that's a given. But I think if you pay attention, you know, if you're following us on Facebook or YouTube, if you've got notification bells turned on, even Instagram, I'd recommend you hang out in that. I think you're going to see more impromptu little contests like that coming from us in the future. You might even see like today where we actually did a 30-minute session, which was really to promote the pizza contest, but we had some fun just talking about, you know, what we did in our career paths, how long we've been in the industry. We answered about a dozen or so questions that people had coming in. So look for more of that coming, because it was a fun time, it was a good time. And actually, you know, there's nothing wrong with at 11:15 at night doing a little live broadcast from home. So I kind of enjoyed that myself. So Jesse, congratulations. You are our Unmasked Pizza winner this week. Sorry you didn't get the contest message in time that you won, but man, we're going to hook you up with that next week, and you're going to be able to enjoy dinner on Kicker from the Unmasked Live Weekly team right here, and we sure appreciate that. So that's the first bit of news that we want to get out of the way here for housekeeping stuff. The second one, which is huge, is obviously Stillwater Designs and Audio is a U.S.-based company right here in Stillwater, Oklahoma, and it's very easy and convenient for us to do contests where we are giving things away to a customer or consumer or friend here in the United States of America. We throw it into a FedEx, we throw it into a UPS box, and we ship it out, and it arrives at your door. Now, we are a global company. We are distributed in, I think at the last count, it's 80-plus countries worldwide. It's just that when we go into other countries, we have to work with the distributors in that country. There's lots of tariffs and taxing and shipping. It's just can be a nightmare trying to send somebody something they won for free in other countries. And that's why a lot of people have tuned in. We have people tune in from all the world. We had somebody this afternoon that was actually coming in from New Zealand, of all the craziest things. And we appreciate that. But, you know, obviously, our neighbors to the north, Canada, and they know how to make some great beer, eh? And they're real close to us, but it's still the same issue, you know, trying to get things across the border. There's tariffs and taxes. We've looked into it, and the reality is we could end up, if you win a free T-shirt, you'd end up with a $150 bill to get your free T-shirt. And I don't think anybody wants that. So the news for tonight, you know, we're working to do everything we can to include more people around the world in our contest. And so tonight we're proud to say that, oh, Canada, and I've got the flag here, because if you've had a few too many Labatt's Blues, maybe you need to have a visual cue and you don't really know what I'm saying, so follow my lips. Canada is now going to be part of our official drawing area that we will be participating in. And I want to give a big shout out to David up at Jemson. Jemson is our distributor in Canada. They are the official distributor of all Kicker products in the Canadian territory. And what we're going to do is if you are a Canadian, you register for the contest and you get picked as the winner, what we will do is we will get your prize package delivered to you through our Jemson distributor. Now, here's the deal. In reality, it's going to take us probably a little bit longer to get that to you, dealing with shipping across the border, getting it to our distributor, and then they have to reship it out to you in your local postal system. So I would say if you're from Canada and you win on the Unmasked show, give us a good 4 to 6 weeks before your prize arrives. That's probably a realistic time frame, as long as FedEx or UPS or whatever may be up there, DHL. I mean, I don't know what other services are offered in Canada that I don't know of. But, you know, if they lose it, well, we'll go from there. But we just need to make sure that you understand if you're from Canada and you are the winner, give us a little more grace on the time frame, because we're going to work through our distributor up there in Jemson, and we're going to get that prize to you. So now we can add Canada to the mix of people who can not only watch the show, which you can do anywhere, but you are going to be qualified to enter the contest. If you get drawn for a winner, you can get into the prize drawings. So hopefully that's a bit of great news. Hopefully people enjoy that. So Jemson, and yeah, Williston Audio Labs, thank you. Jemson, not Jensen. So hopefully I pronounced that good enough. It's not Jensen, it's Jemson, G-E-M-S-E-N. But they are our Canadian distributors, and they're going to work with us so that you guys in Canada can participate in all the Kicker Unmasked weekly drawings. So big shout out and thank you to them. Give us a little bit of grace, a little bit of time. If you're a Canadian winner, you're going to get your prize. It'll just take us a little bit longer. So we will continue working on this. We will try to find ways to work with more countries and other distributors in other countries. But right now, this is one that's a solid done deal. In Canada, you're on board. So with that said, want me to move cameras? Tim's back there doing this, and I'm reading my paper. He's like, hey, Kip, right here. You know, see, follow. They got a red dot. If any of you are into cameras or this, it's called a tally light, and it's a little red dot that sits on the camera. And when Ernie's back there having fun, he can actually, in the blink of an eye, go from camera 1 to camera 2 to camera 3 to camera 4 to camera 5 and just bounce around the room. And he treats it like a laser with a cat. And there's nothing he likes doing more to me than moving the light around and trying to get me to chase the light that's up here on the camera screen. And so it's his game, and he loves playing it. And sometimes I get a little lost in what I'm doing here, and Tim, the guy behind camera, he's real good because he'll give me a visual cue and let me know, hey, Ernie wants you on this camera right here. So I move over. So I know that doesn't mean anything to you guys probably, but it's a little bit of fun behind the scenes stuff that goes on here. So if you ever get a chance to come visit, you know, when things open up, and if you get a chance to come through Stillwater and you get a chance to come see the studio, you can actually see what a tally light is. Maybe we'll play cat with you. And as he moves over there, moves back, and moves over here, and now we're going to, and he's just having too much fun. So with that said, tonight's episode, we have titled it Tools of the Trade. And it's just a name that we've given the show. I mean, it's still Kicker Unmasked Live Weekly, don't get me wrong, but we just kind of gave a little sub-name to this as Tools of the Trade. And on this one here, this was the show that got canceled due to weather, and there's been a lot of people out there that have asked when that show is going to come up. This is that show. We're going to talk about RTAs, we're going to talk about tuning, we're going to talk about acoustical versus electrical when it comes to an RTA, what you're looking at, and we're going to show you tools you can buy. And we're going to show you, John has got something really amazing to show you, tools you can build. So we're going to get to that, but tonight's show is on RTAs. Now I want to give a shout out to our good friends over at Audio Control. They have worked with us to be partners on this evening's show. So shout out to Audio Control. If you guys have never seen their products or done anything with them, please go visit their website. It's audiocontrol.com. They make some fantastic gear. They've made a name for processors and RTAs. I mean, you'll go all the way back to the 3050, which was really the first real-time analyzer that people used in professional competition and tuning. They've been around for a long time, great company, and they decided and agreed to work with us, and they've provided a couple special prizes that we are adding to the winners tonight. So yes, there is a contest. The link is scrolling across the bottom of the screen if you haven't seen it. As you know by now, we've actually got our own link for this. It's always kicker.fun, and then the link for it changes. Tonight's called Tune It. So if you go to kicker.fun/tune it, that'll get you entered into tonight's drawing. And along with the normal surprise of whatever we may be giving away from the Kicker Studios, we want to give a big shout out and thanks to our gentlemen and friends over at Audio Control for adding to tonight's prizes. So definitely want to make sure we give them a lot of love, and hopefully at some point in the future we can actually get some of them on the show and talk about things going on at Audio Control right here on the show. So with that said, I'm going to look over here in the comment feed, see if there's anything going on I can pull out here real quick. I mean, I know there's tons of this stuff that goes by. Nice, 3 including you, blah, 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 even like the doll. Hey, you know, they always post it in here. If you guys enjoy the show, we know we love you for tuning in, but man, we'd sure love it if you could just take the whole second and a half and hit that thumbs up button and give us a like on that. It doesn't give us anything because we don't monetize this show. We don't do it for any type of advertising, but when we can show that we're getting people involved in the show, they're liking the content, doing things, it lets us go to the big bosses upstairs and go, hey, we want to do more. We'd like to do this. We got this crazy idea, like giving away pizza. So giving us a thumbs up, that just lets us know that people do enjoy the content we're doing here, and it gives us that leverage we need so that we can get the people above us in upper management to sign on and let us do other great things for you guys who are obviously Kicker fans, Kicker customers, anyone out there enjoys great sounding audio. So if you don't mind, hit that thumbs up button. We sure do appreciate that. And like I said, it's not for money on our side because we don't monetize. It's just great tools for us to show what we're doing and how it's having a positive influence for all you guys out there. So I appreciate that. Chris Bennett must be on the show. I agree, High Five Vega. I think Chris Bennett needs to be on the show. We will reach out to him, and we will try to get him on a future episode along with you. I mean, it's been a while since we've had you and Big D on the show. Love having you guys on the show. We need to play on a show that works with and get you guys back on board. I will say that next week's show, I know we don't really publish a schedule in advance, but next week's show, we do have a special guest joining us. Look for the teaser video that'll be out tomorrow or the day after, and you'll know who that's going to be. We have a great show planned for next week as well that kind of butts up right into this same tools of the trade with a special guest. So we want you to stay tuned in for that. Evening, folks. How you doing, Kevin? 200 thumbs. Let's go. That would be great if we can get 200 thumbs. That would be awesome. I don't hit the like button until Officer Thomas arrives and tells me to. You know, Deviant, we need to drink a beer somewhere, and I need to understand how your brain works. You are definitely a different cat. I can't hit the like button. Brandon Wallace, hey Brandon, thank you for the thumbs up. We appreciate that. I've been in talks with some of the higher ups and want to do a USACI sanctioned comp at the Kicker facility here in Stillwater. Brad, keep having those conversations. The reality is we probably won't be able to have a competition here at Kicker. The good news, bad news is we have a wonderful facility that sits on about 23 acres here, but we are right up against a residential neighborhood. We've tried to do some contests, car audio shows, car shows in the summer here, and the noise levels just get too far out of control that the neighbors right next to us, they just don't appreciate that. So we could probably look at doing a contest at a different location, but we certainly couldn't do one here at this location that's sound oriented because it just gets too loud for the neighbors next door. So hope you appreciate that, but keep chasing down that trail. Love that. Eskimo Joe's for food and beer. Justin, I'm on with you that. Eskimo Joe's is an old school place here in Stillwater. Definitely something to hit up if you're in the area. Already smashed the thumbs up. Thank you, Boosted74 M2. Appreciate that. Or MZ. Appreciate. Sorry, I missed that. Hi-Fi Vega. Faux Show Bill. I love those guys too. A lot of great comments, guys. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Thumbs up for Hi-Fi CCA Vega. CCA Vega. Yeah, I think that's become his official nickname is CCA Vega. Kip, don't get cranked up the wall. I visit. I'm laughing. Wilson Audio Labs, which is obviously Big D, Derek, he says, I didn't seem too concerned. I cranked up the wall when he and Hi-Fi Vega visited. Yeah, we have a pretty fun wall in the front of the building. It's got 16 L715 drivers and some rather large custom-tuned ported enclosures, and it'll make that entire room up front of the museum area. It'll make it get up and boogie. We try to keep it a little on the mild side. When we get special bidders, we'll get a little loose on the volume knob, but we actually have some people that live back in this neighborhood that the wall of boom literally vibrates china in their cabinets, and they don't like that. So can't really fault them for that. But yeah, we let it off the chain for you guys when you were here. That was fun. Watching from Northwest Arkansas, thank you for tuning in, Bobby. Appreciate that. That's the truth. We beat that wall to death. Hi-Fi Vega, you're correct. We beat that wall to death, but it was fun. It was a good time. So everyone, thanks for tuning in. Housekeeping's out of the way. Hope you think the video is just another notch better in quality, because we certainly notice it. But with all that said, we are going to talk about tools of the trade tonight, and there's no one better I could have join us for this evening's show than our own Dr. 12 Volt, Mr. John Myers. He's been with the company as long as I have, so if I'd like to ask him to come on board and join me. John, come on into the studio, and I'll move over a little bit.
Hey, guys.
Get you on board. How you doing this evening, John?
I am doing great.
Give me one.
We're going to have some fun here, aren't we?
We are going to have some fun. Now, John, RTAs, some people may not understand what an RTA is to begin with, so I'm going to ask you a real simple question. Kind of look at the camera and give me, what does RTA mean, and what is it used for?
First of all, you said it. RTA stands for real-time analyzer. So just like any other, thing that can be measured, audio can be measured.
Can't see it?
Nope. So you got to measure it somehow, so you got to use a tool for that.
So the RTA really allows us as human beings to see audio.
Exactly. We can see frequency and we can see amplitude.
Okay. So when we talk about frequency and amplitude, and I'm going to lead you a little bit here, but the most important frequencies that we talk about when we talk about looking at an RTA is we look primarily from 20 hertz up to 20 kilohertz.
Correct.
And 20 hertz is the low frequency, the rumble that you would feel in music. And as you move up the spectrum, more and more frequencies, you go from bass, low bass, bass, sub bass, mid bass, upper bass. I mean, you can break it down to a lot of different areas: mid-range, lower mid-range, upper mid-range, lower treble, upper treble, mid treble.
You pretty much pick, and you can name it.
You can name it. But basically, 20 hertz to 20,000 kilohertz is the range that we're looking at. And we use, obviously, is this RTA up here?
Yes,
yeah, you can. Okay. So, if Tim, when he gets a chance, he might do a shot of this over here. He doesn't do it this second, but we have an RTA here that's actually live right now, and it's just hooked up to a microphone. So if you were to happen to see that RTA in one of the shots we're doing, that is the acoustical response of you and I talking in this room.
And the room.
And the room itself.
Can't forget that.
And the room itself. So one of the things, so an RTA obviously lets us see audio from 20 to 20,000 hertz. We have to have some kind of a reference to look at that, and the reference is typically pink noise,
pink
if
noise.
not. And so what is pink noise?
Pink noise is basically equal amplitude of all frequencies. So, when you start talking about output levels, volume, dB, whatsoever. So pink noise is pretty much going to give you a flat response. And when you're trying to measure something, you have to have a reference. You have to have some place to start from. You have to have a base, because what you're trying to see is how much does this gear change the sound.
So yes, it's a bass, so it's a flat line, and a lot of times you'll see myself or other people who are on a show, we'll draw with our hands, or we'll show, it's a flat from 20 to 20. If you've ever listened to something that is flat to 20 to 20, it sounds wretchedly horrible.
Yeah, you're about ready to steal my thunder on that one. When I do the trainings on the road, getting out with a bunch of the guys that are in the industry, you ask them, it's like, how many in the room have ever heard of, I ask a car that scores 35 or higher. Now, 40 is the highest.
Sure.
And to my knowledge, there's only been one vehicle I remember ever score a perfect 40.
Skeep, if I remember right.
Was it like a Ford Fiesta or something with a seat right in the middle?
I can't remember the exact vehicle, but it was a very small vehicle, and it was actually built by a couple of gentlemen back in my hometown, or they were in that area, Lima, Ohio. They're actually from a place outside there. I can't remember if it was Delphus or Bluffton, Van Wert. I think it was Van Wert, if I remember right. But yeah, it was actually a car out of basically the backyard where I grew up.
Yeah, and of course, audio, Kip, Ohio. So apparently all the good audio people come from Ohio. It's what he's trying to say. Yeah.
Well, you say that, but back in the day when competition, sound quality competition was a thing. I mean, it was a known fact that Michigan, Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, Illinois, even Pennsylvania, that was the hotbed of competitors.
And it was, because I was in, Chicago back in the early 90s working for Kenwood. Every weekend I was doing a show, sometimes two. One on Saturday, a different one on Sunday. So it was crazy, but yeah, it was so much fun.
It's not like there weren't other great competitors from other states, but it's just that, magazine after magazine or show scores after show scores, if you looked, it's just like these people all seem to want to live in this same area of the country.
Yeah.
Is it in the water?
Yeah,
you don't know.
Maybe. I know there's something in that water.
So obviously pink noise, we don't want to design a system to have a flat line for listening, but that flat line, when we're looking at an RTA, what does that give us? You say reference, but
it gives us a baseline where to start. The whole point is, you're sending a flat response in, and I always like to talk to people. It's like, what are we doing here? What is this industry that we're in? And you get a lot of people say, hey, you're in the car audio industry, and that's kind of right, but it's not exactly right. To be honest, you'll probably know this. We're in the entertainment industry, right? The emotion industry.
Well, when you have a face built for radio, which we qualify, but yet this is kind of the entertainment industry. But at the end of the day, I know a lot of people out there, I mean, it's kind of crazy. Even myself, I look at YouTube as my new TV. I get to choose my programming, watch what I want, when I want, whether it's 12-volt related or unboxings or all the other crazy things I get into watching. And so it's kind of crazy. I mean, I've had people, they look at what we're doing as we're stars, and I'm like, no. Not even close.
But when I start talking about we're selling emotion, why do people buy car audio? Why do you guys buy it? Why are you here? Because it's fun, it's your passion, it's exciting, right? If it's not fun and exciting, you're not going to be passionate about it, and you sure as heck aren't going to spend a lot of money on it, right?
No, you certainly aren't. And an RTA is a tool. But I also want to step back for a second. Let's pretend you're not a competitor. You're not someone who's going to go out and spend your weeks and weekends building and designing and tuning a car, nor are you going to spend your weeks or weekends going out and competing at contests. And I don't want anyone to get the impression that these tools we're going to talk about have something to do with being a competitor.
No, not at all. Not anymore.
Not anymore. These tools have everything to do with finding the right place in a car to actually put in a system. Where can I get a signal from an OE system that actually is giving me 4-inch signal?
And that's the most important part right now. Like as we talked about in the past, that the audio control piece, that is the benchmark. It's the standard. It's the piece that really, it was the centerpiece of iASCA for the most part. It's got a little printer button on the back. You could print out your response. It automatically score it. So that really was, the big daddy piece that would, you put the microphone in and you could measure the response of the car. And you're always looking for that flat response. So it's kind of funny you talk about, these people that, not putting a lot of money in their vehicle or their competition. I mean, some of these competition vehicles out there I've judged, they'll have $250,000 in these things, and it's absolutely crazy that you'll spend that much money to get this little bar graph on this audio control to be as flat as possible. The irony is, it sounds terrible. It's sterile.
It's very sterile.
There's no emotion, no excitement. It's just there. I can't tell you how much I'd set in these vehicles, and they were absolutely like hospital sterile, but it didn't make me want to go out and spend a lot of money on them.
I've listened, you say that, John, myself, I've listened to many cars over the years that scored really high on the RTA section, but they had no life, they were flat, they were sterile, a lot of them sounded really like this in some cases. It wasn't natural. It had no life in the bottom end. And that's why, as we get into this, I hope that you'll touch on this, is that, 20 to 20 hertz, the pink noise that we use is a flat line, but that flat line is just a reference tool so that we can work forward. What we would prefer to have is no more than about 3 dB of deviation from one frequency band to the other.
Exactly. But, I mean, you want some deviation. You want some, that's why we do this. It's for fun.
I mean, KICKER has a curve.
Yes.
It's in the key.
And the KICKER, absolutely. It's in pretty much all of our full range products.
You know, we say that it's a house curve. I mean, those of the kicker, you know, Steve Irby, Joe Gross, we talk about competition. Joe Gross is an avid competitor from way back in the day, and he's actually going to be on the show at the end of the month. He's actually in charge of our two-wheel and power sports division.
That'll be a fun one.
That's going to be a fun show with Joe, but, you know, maybe we can touch on his IASCA competition days, but back before it was even called IASCA, you know, NACA and CAN and other names that people may not know. But, you know, this flat line, this pink noise that we're talking about, we're just using that as a tool so that we can smooth out the response. Yeah, most people like a little bit of hump in the bass. I like a little hump in the bass.
Smiley face. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I'm not per se a VEQ kind of guy. I mean, there's a lot of people that think the first thing you do is grab the bottom, grab the top, and just shove them all the way up they go.
Grab the middle and yank it to
grab the middle, yank it down. That's really not going to get you an accurate or a pleasant sounding system either. It'll give you a lot of fatigue. It's going to wear you out pretty quick from listening.
But we got to point out, if that's what you like, that's not a problem. There is no right or wrong with acoustics. So when we use this, you know, expensive and sometimes not so expensive, you know, measuring equipment, you know, it's not necessarily to, you know, flatten that response and, you know, make it absolute, but sometimes it's just there to gauge what you're starting with, because the final result, what you're shooting for, ultimately is something that makes you happy. Not something that makes that flat, but if that makes you happy, great, do it. And there's a lot of people that they are all about, you know, the smoothest response possible, but generally the majority of the public, they want a little coloration. They want a little pizzazz, and like I say, the more excited you get about it, the more money you're going to spend on it, the more fun you can have with it. So, and, you know, we've seen that, you know, lately with this whole COVID thing, you know, with people all of a sudden being at home, you know, having more time, or, you know, their cars to sit in and play with them. You know, it's been really a boom for our industry. Plus, they're not spending money on movies and cruise lines and, you know, restaurants.
Other things.
Yeah, so they're going on vacation. So it's been a lot of fun. So there's been kind of a resurgence of car audio. And I will say, you know, not on the sound quality wise, but on the fabrication. You know, that's one of the things I really like to, you know, thank Facebook for. You know, some of these sites like, you know, Carbide Cult, you know, that have really got the installers kind of in their own competition, like who can outdo, who can build the coolest things. So what we want to do tonight is we're not trying to tell you that, you know, you have to have a certain sound, or, you know, if you have this, it's wrong. We want to give you the tools to actually measure it, and there's a couple different reasons for the RTA. Once again, it is going to give you a visual of what you're hearing. Now, we talk about hertz. If you don't know what hertz are vibrations per second. It's one wavelength. So 20 vibrations per second is 20 hertz. So all the way up to 20 kilohertz, which is 20,000 vibrations per second. The RTA will show us that, and we can, you know, even if we can't hear it, because I'm old, I know you're about the same age as I am, my ears kind of drop off at about, you know, 13 to 14K, somewhere in there, but, you know, you still got up to 20K that, you know, the RTA can accurately measure, so you'll be able to see stuff you can't necessarily hear.
Fortunately for me, I'm still good up into about the high 17, 18 range. TV power supplies that whine can still drive me crazy.
Yeah. So that is kind of exciting. So,
but the thing is, you know, I've been in the audio industry for 30 plus years. I mean, I started playing around with audio when I was 12, but, you know, from the time I was 16, I think if I had to be honest, probably from 16 to where I'm at now, 95% of my work path has all been related in this field of car audio or home audio, pro sound. And what's funny about that, even though I'm into it, and I love a loud, clean, tight system with bass that just, I love it. But I also practice what I like to refer to as safe sound. And even when I was 16, running around my car, I always had hearing protection hanging off my mirror, you know, the little spongy, foamy things on a string. And if I was going to play it loud for an extended period of time, let's be honest, it wasn't really for me to hear.
Yeah, because you know what it's going to do.
I know it. It's the impact and the feeling of vibration, but you're really entertaining a larger group of people. So I have used hearing protection my entire life, whether I'm around power tools, lawnmower, blowers, audio gear. If it exceeds a certain level,
just rub it in.
I'm not trying to rub it in.
Keep rubbing it in.
You know, it's that case where, you know, I listened to that part apparently, and it stuck with me. But I do appreciate.
I was the rebellious one.
Yeah, I mean, a car, not that I listen to it that way all the time, but a car that'll do a solid 145 dB, smooth bandwidth, full frequency response, and just has that bass that'll get you, I'm all about that.
Oh, yeah. That's the way I drive every day. I always tell people if it's too loud, it's because I'm old.
That's true. Very true. So, to recap real quick, an RTA is a real-time analyzer. It's a tool that lets you visually see sound, because you can't see sound, so it lets you see what sound is doing.
Well, you can see sound in some of these space vehicles.
Well, that's
true.
true.
The roof vibrating, the windows moving. Then you can see sound, but yeah, you can't really measure that.
Good point, John. Point to John. So we use the tool. So the RTA is the physical hardware that lets us measure. The RTA has to be used with a microphone or a hardwired input of some kind. And then we have to have some kind of a reference signal to work with, and that obviously is big noise.
Yep, you have to know where to start. Now, with the RTAs, you know, and we've got a lot to cover, so we might go kind of quick, and, you know, I hope we can get through all this.
You dive into what you need to, John. We're here.
We've
Let's
got
go.
a bunch of stuff out here. So first of all, with the RTA, you know, it used to be used for tuning sound quality, you know, for measuring. And it is very important for that, and it's very dynamic. And once again, you know, it's great for that, but it's got another very useful function, which is really important. In fact, you start talking about the most important tools as an installer. Obviously, your brain is probably going to be number one. You know, then you got to have education. Then you got to have obviously good tools, right? I mean, you got crimpers, you got strippers, you got, you know, sockets, ratchet. I know.
Wire strippers.
Yep. Spent the night with some coke and strippers. So anyway, different story. But the funny thing about it is you have to, you know what's going on in a vehicle, and that's what the RTA is going to do for you. So not only does it do sound quality, but you can use it to measure. And if you look at an RTA, there's people out there that are so good with acoustics, they can literally tell a frequency just by listening to it. I mean, that takes some training. There's actually a couple things online that actually have a test. They'll play frequencies, and they'll have you guess what the frequency is.
Yeah, funny story to that. I want to just add it too there. I had a chance, and shout out, I doubt if he's watching, but an avid competitor from that day is Mr. Mark Eldridge.
Oh, yeah.
And Mark used to actually work for KICKER for a period of time. And I had the fun and educational opportunity to go to Japan with Mark, and we actually did some trainings in Japan on sound quality, EQs, RT, kind of all this same stuff here. And he didn't tell me that I was going to be his guinea pig, but what he did, Mark had this tool that he would use, and what he had, it was two 31-band RTAs. Pink noise went into one, then it went out of that EQ right into the second one, and then out to a set of speakers that you could hear. And what he would do is you could see one EQ and the other one was turned away from you. And he would pick a band and exaggerate it. And you had to guess and figure out which band he'd exaggerate. Because if he took, say, 100 hertz and he increased it 12 dB, you could turn around and take 100 hertz and decrease it 12 dB, and basically you've nulled it out. It's back to a flat original signal. So you could hear it, and he had an RTA there. And so Mark set this whole thing up for this class, and of course we have a translator, and there's, you have to talk and then wait. You know, you've done the thing. Yeah, wait for it to be translated and come back.
Yeah, we both worked with Mark.
Yeah, so Mark, he called me up to the room to be the guinea pig for the first demo. And of course, I'm standing, I'd never done this test before at all. And of course, if you know Mark likes to kind of think he can get one over on you.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm sitting there.
Sly, quiet way.
Yeah. So I'm sitting there and I'm listening, and of course he's got his EQ and RT on his side, and he alters something, and I sit there and I listen, and I go, you know, that really, and I reach up and I grab 1 kilohertz and I just drop it to the floor, and that was the one. And he just looked at me like, who told you that that's the one? It's kind of funny if you work with 1 kilohertz as a test tone long enough.
Well, I was going to say that's actually, you know, that's the, you know, when the TV goes off the air, the doo. Yeah, that's 1K.
There you go.
You guys pretty much know what that frequency is, so that's a lot of fun. But to get kind of in the meat of things here, so obviously we know for, you know, tuning a car, an RTA is great. But the other thing, not even necessarily tuning it, but you're listening to a system, you're playing music, and it just doesn't sound right. There's something missing, and if you're not trained in what frequencies, you may not know what it is.
True.
But the RTA is going to show you what you're missing. It's going to tell you, hey, you're not getting this frequency. You're getting too much of this frequency. In fact, one of the things we like to point out with frequencies, you're much less likely to hear a dip than you are a peak. So anything that's got a peak is going to be a lot more noticeable than a dip. So if you got, you know, a 6 dB peak on this frequency and a 6 dB, you know, dip on this frequency, you're going to hear that peak before you hear the dip. So,
and ironically, and I know
you're hearing another dip right here.
Yeah. 2 dips to go. You know, the funny thing about it though too is, if you get talking to people, I mean, EQs, I mean, in today's world, you can get obviously a 10 band, 15 band, 20 band, 30 band. 30 band is what you want, or at least a good strong parametric if you're not going to use a single fixed EQ. But the thing about it is, when we talk about equalization, and hopefully John will show you this about a little bit more of this when we actually get to seeing an RTA, is cutting is always better than boosting to correct the anomalies. Now, there are times you're going to have to boost. That's just a reality. But it's always typically better. If you got a great big peak, don't think that boosting everything around the sides of it is the answer. The answer is pull the peak down.
Right.
And the thing is, that peak could be caused from a lot of different things. It could be your crossover point. You may have a phase anomaly, overlap. Maybe you don't have symmetrical, or maybe you do need symmetrical crossover points. There could be lots of things that are causing that. And when you start using an RTA, you'll kind of get in tune to this, because you might look at, say, okay, well, here's a dip, and then you look at what the frequency, you go, oh, that's the crossover point between my mid-range and my tweeter. So you might find that maybe you want to reverse the polarity of your mid-range to try to solve that. Or maybe you want to change the slope on your crossover. There's other tools that, or there's other things you can adjust that the RTA shows you, and once you get used to using one, it's like you'll like pick out like, oh yeah, I know what that is, I know what that is, I know what that is. You'll learn that as you go.
Yeah, and that's the nice thing about it. It gives you kind of a roadmap, and you know, an RTA isn't the fix-all. You have to have the knowledge behind it, and you have to do some experimentation, and that's the fun about it. I mean, there's a little bit of challenge involved, and like I say, there is no right or wrong. That's why I never judge sound quality, I ask you, because my idea what sounds good is different than what the judges wanted. So I judge install. I'd run the RTA because that was a matter of pushing a button and scoring it. So there was no...
There's no opinion in that.
No, it's just whenever it's scored, push the button, print it out. Here's your score.
Here's your score, and it's not my opinion.
Yep. So that was always nice. But start talking about, you know, tuning with the RTA. So obviously, yes, you know, tuning for sound quality is important. Finding the dips or the peaks, you know, if you can't figure them out. But the reason I think, in my personal opinion, in the last probably, you know, at least 5 years, if not back to 10 years, there's been this radical change in car audio, and it starts right here, not necessarily with this source unit, but the source unit that's in your vehicle. And we all know what DSP is, digital signal processing. That's where they take a natural, song, acoustic, whatever, input signal, and they convert it from analog to digital, then they manipulate it, they convert it back to analog, then they amplify it. So they have changed that original signal.
A lot.
Yeah, and sometimes really, really a lot. And where that really is, prevalent is in OEM radios. What they're doing is they're basically, kind of with an RTA, they'll put a microphone in a new vehicle and they'll tune the factory electronics to work with that particular speaker in that vehicle. It may not be the great speaker, but they're trying to make that inexpensive speaker sound as good as possible. Sometimes they do pretty good, sometimes they really don't do good. But either way, there's always an improvement right here at KICKER, just we make everything.
And that's a good point. I want to circle, new term for the year. So let's circle back to that for a second. When you're using a DSP, you're focusing on factory, but you can use a DSP to try to make a speaker do something more than it can't naturally. And sometimes you can get away with that, and sometimes you can't. Like a subwoofer. If a subwoofer's not going to play 20 hertz, and you can boost and boost, and if it's not going to do it, you're probably just going to blow it up.
Yeah.
But with an RTA, you can try to make up for speaker deficiencies, and you're making up for environmental impact on how that speaker is being influenced by the environment.
Right.
So in all fairness, when the OEM is putting together a system in that car, their only focus is to try to get that system they're doing to sound as good as possible for their car and their customer.
And their speakers.
And what can happen is whatever DSP is built into that, I don't know of many cars today that don't have a DSP built into them from the factory.
I think they're pretty much 100%.
Pretty much all of them. And when you go and okay, so you look at and this would be great, if you see Dean and Fernando and those guys pulling out speakers, and a lot of times those OEM speakers don't look like a whole lot, especially when they show you the speakers they're putting back in, whether it's a KICKER or a different brand, doesn't matter. But because of that equalization that's in there from the factory, it's entirely possible that you can put in a better speaker. It's a better speaker all the way across the board, but it can oftentimes not sound as good or even as good as the factory.
Exactly.
Because of all of the equalization that's been pre-programmed in for that speaker in that car. And so hopefully that opens up for you to talk about what are we trying to do?
Yeah, so what we're trying to do, a couple things. Obviously, we're trying to make it sound good, and we're trying to make it sound to what, you, if you're the consumer or the consumer, is trying to achieve. So what we'll do is we'll want to, basically measure that signal and see what's happening, but we have to know a baseline. So the baseline is going to be paint noise. And there's two different ways to measure basically sound. There's the acoustic measurement, which is the microphone. In fact, the audio control, it's actually using a microphone right now and it's picking up everything in the room. So you could put a microphone in a vehicle, play paint noise, and you're going to get a certain curve. And, it may be a straight line or, it doesn't matter. We can just call it a curve. Whatever shape it is, it's a curve, right? I mean, it could do all kinds of crazy things, but that's what is called a curve. So the problem with this is if you've got a microphone in a vehicle and you're trying to figure out, what the DSP is or why you'd want DSP, you can't do it with the microphone. I mean, that's first and foremost is you can't tell what signal's going into a speaker by using the microphone because there are really 3 factors that are going to control the way that microphone's picking up sound. One is the acoustics of the speaker. Every speaker sounds differently.
True.
There's the acoustics of the vehicle. It's called the transfer function, so every vehicle will color the sound in its own particular way.
Absolutely.
The same speaker sounds different in every vehicle you put it in. Every location you put it in is going to change the sound again. But you're still looking for kind of this certain level, the certain plateau of where it's going to be. And of course, you've got the factory electronics, the DSP, that's going to change the sound.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot of different things that are changing the way that speaker sounds. I mean, the placement of the speaker, the height, the width, the angle, the power that goes to it, the crossover. So we need to know what is going on to start with. And like you said, the factory changes that sound a lot. Now, trying to put a microphone in a vehicle to see what the signal going is absolutely worthless because speakers don't have a flat response.
Nope.
You've got maybe some type of DSP, and you've got outside noises that color the sound. So you're not going to get an accurate picture of the signal going into the speaker. Now, why is that important? Why are we talking about signal going into a speaker? Acoustics and tuning sound quality, that's great, and that's one of the things that, an RTA will really help. But in my opinion, probably the 4th most important tool in a bay or with any guy that does audio should be an RTA. Not necessarily for tuning for sound quality, but for testing signal because of that factory DSP and what you just talked about.
Exactly.
You change the speaker, you put a $500 pair of speakers in a car that had, the OEM, just junk, let's call it. It's like, these don't even sound as good as that $3 speaker I took out. That's because of what the factory did to it. So we need to see what that signal is. And more importantly, if you're adding a subwoofer, which is the most popular thing people are doing right now, you have to know where to get the signal.
It's entirely possible, back me up on this, John, you go into a OE system today, and you're right, adding subs is the #1 thing people do to an OE system. And if you tap into the wrong speaker line, it's entirely possible that that speaker line is crossed over, so it's not even getting low frequency, or it's EQ'd, and it's not going to sound good on this new woofer you have. So you need to see that you're getting at least sub-bass frequencies fed
before
into
you
the
can
amplifier.
amplify it. Yeah, exactly. So to give you an example, I won't tell you what vehicle it is, but it was a Lexus. I won't tell you the model, but it had 17 speakers in that car. There are only 2 speakers that are full range, and that's the door speakers. Every other speaker in that system is crossed over, one high pass, low pass, band pass, but the door speakers are the only full range speakers. Well, how do you know that? You can't use a microphone because the speaker's not going to show you full range. I mean, even if it was getting full range, it's still going to have a roll off in the bass response. And if we play music right now through that microphone, listening to that speaker, that's an incredible speaker, but there's obviously some bass roll off, even though it's getting a full range signal. So we use the RTA to actually see the signal that's going into the speaker so you know where to tap into that. So that's why I think it's one of the most important tools out there because you have to know what signal's going in so you know what to do to it later.
So really what you're talking about there, and I want to make sure we do a clear delineation here, is an RTA can be used as an electrical analysis tool or an acoustical analysis tool. And basically, if you're using a microphone and you're measuring the response of the speaker in its environment, you're measuring the acoustic response of everything, the environment, the speaker, the DSP, whatever you've done,
everything.
All of it. But if you take that RTA and you go into just the electrical side, which means tapping into the speaker wires, and I'm going to say speaker wires because if you're doing an OE environment, that's what you're dealing with, not RCAs. You're tapping into those speaker wires. You're trying to visually see and find what frequencies are on these pair of wires, and is this the right place for me to tap into so that I can add on?
Exactly. So, like I say, we're actually running, we got a lot to cover in a short amount of time. So let's actually get right to it.
Get into it, John.
So what we're going to do is I'm going to play paint noise.
Okay.
And tell you guys it's going to sound like static. So I'm going to step around the table so I can see the radio since it's been idle for quite a while. And I've got a flash drive. And Kip, why don't you tell them why we're using a flash drive?
Well, we're using the flash drive so that we can get the source material into the unit. Everyone probably CDs or things like that, but flash drives are very easy to use. They're very convenient, very portable. And the majority of you out there are listening to compressed music. You're using MP3s or AAC files, or if you're like me, I actually use ALEC files. But we're using a thumb drive so that we can kind of get as accurate of a signal as what you're probably going to use in your OE system today, because chances are you probably don't have a CD player.
Yeah, and that's where, make sure it is uncompressed. So Tim, if I can have you like zoom in on the audio control over here, we are playing a pink noise signal, and that's what the microphone is picking up. And if you notice, it's moving with my voice as well. So it's picking up my voice, it's picking up Kip, it's picking up the pink noise, it's picking up everything. But what signal are we actually sending to the speaker? I mean, you can't tell what that signal is supposed to look like. And if I be quiet and just quit talking, I know that's tough for me, and just watch what the RTA shows without anyone talking. That is pink noise.
And that's pink noise being measured acoustically coming out of the speaker into the environment.
So that won't tell us what wire we need to tie onto, because you can see we've got a lot of lost low frequencies. But I'm going to spin this tablet around, because this tablet is actually tapped into the signal. So that is the signal that's going to that speaker. So as I turn the volume up and down.
Wherever, Tim, here, I'll get the glare off there, Tim,
yep.
If you can get me a...
If you can see.
That good? Perfect, okay.
So this is showing us the actual input. Now that does a couple things for us. It tells me, hey, I'm getting a flat response in. More importantly, on a lot of new vehicles with that DSP, they've got this active bass roll-off. As you turn the volume up farther, the bass will roll off or it'll stop increasing. So as I turn this up and down, if you start increasing the output and the bass stays and everything else continues to increase, that tells you right away, I have automatic bass roll off in the radio, so it's giving you some other information besides.
And that's a great, Ernie just got a shot of it here, it's a close-up, so if you want to turn the pink noise up just a little bit, John, you can see what we're talking about is this tablet is showing you the pink noise. This is the electrical measurement of the pink noise before it gets fed into the amplifier. And this is the acoustical measurement of that exact same pink noise, but we're measuring it after it comes out of the speaker into the environment. So again, I think this reinforces what this is our reference signal, and this is 20 to 20 basically flat. It's all frequencies, all octaves equal energy is what we have going on here. But you see the dancing scope over here, there is no flat line.
No.
And honestly, I don't think you want one.
No, it doesn't sound good. But not to be rude and correct Kip on camera, but Kip doesn't know my setup. That's not actually the input going into the amplifier. That's the output of the amplifier.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And there's a good reason why I do that. I wanted to point this out specifically because we know that's not a crossed over signal. Let's go ahead and turn on a crossover and see what happens to the signal. So as we turn the crossover on, actually, I lied. It's actually coming out of here.
It's coming out of the radio.
Yep, so I'm going to switch it because we were playing with this earlier. Now let's go to the output of the amplifier.
Okay. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I see it right here.
So now you can see the crossover's turned on in the amplifier, but that amplifier's still got a heck of a flat response. It is a Q class, of course. Let's turn the crossover off. You see that bump right back up. So that will show you where a crossover is. That's showing us a high-pass crossover. In fact, let's really emphasize that. Change the frequency. You can see that RTA graph start to drop away. So that's showing you a high pass basically at about 225, 200 hertz is where the crossover is starting.
Sure.
So that's going to tell me, hey, I absolutely have a crossover in this. This is not a full range signal. Now, if it was the opposite.
Now, before you go back to that, John, real quick. I want to emphasize this because if you're using the RTA as a diagnostic tool in the car, this would be perhaps you tapped into speaker wires that are going to, say, a front mid-range or a rear mid-range, yeah. And they have a crossover in the factory system that's taking all that bass out. If you're to tap into those lines to go back and feed your subwoofer amplifier and the sub you're adding, you're not having any bass to begin with.
Yep, so you can't amplify what isn't there. And that's the importance of being able to tap into the signal. But it can be, a challenging, and, till recently it was very expensive to do that. So if it rolled off up here, that would be a low-pass crossover. If they both roll off, it's a band-pass crossover. So pretty simple.
Very simple.
That's how you can tell what type of crossover you have. And if you got out the math and you calculated how many dB, between the octaves, now you know how many dB per octave the roll-off is. So it allows you to see what you can't, otherwise. I mean, just acoustically, you can see the crossovers.
So this is the example then, what you're saying, John, of how you would use an RTA to actually go through and probe through the car and find where the signal is on each pair of speaker lines.
Absolutely. And there's, many different RTAs out there. I'm going to go ahead and turn this down so we don't have to talk over the pink noise. But, you start with, the audio control, which is the benchmark, the industry standard. I mean, that's a little under $2,000, right? I mean,
yeah, it was.
I mean, it's a great piece, but like I say, it's expensive. Not a lot of guys have the ability to spend that much. I mean, you should spend money on good tools and buy good tools, but they've got to be useful tools.
And I can guarantee you this one's every bit of 25 years old.
Yeah, it really is, guys. I mean, that's how durable they are, and that one's been banged around a lot. And that's the other thing is that's a big case. You don't want to be hauling that in and out of cars. So there's other options, especially with the electronics today. I mean, you see another option right here with the tablet. It could be a phone.
But we got a surprise on this at the end, and we're not giving it away yet.
No, not yet. Definitely.
Okay.
I mean, we still got a few more minutes before we can get into that. But, you know, you're seeing it on a tablet, but it could be a phone as well. I mean, they have microphones built in. But let's just go back and do that again. Let's turn this up. You see what the audio control is showing with the microphone. You see the signal going in. Let's take the crossover off. Now let's go to the iPad microphone. Very different signal. I mean, it's basically measuring the acoustical output of that speaker that's next to it.
Ernie, if the camera's still focused in on this, can you move to camera, is that 3? Thank you, sir. And that's kind of just highlights what John's talking about. You can see this is actually the acoustical measurement from the built-in microphone in the iPad, and this is the acoustical measurement going on in the audio control RTA. And I was impressed with how accurate it is.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's very useful, guys. I mean, even though it may not be, you know, absolutely dead, you know, bullseye perfect, it gives you a very accurate representation of what's going on.
That's better than my eyeballs.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to tell us, hey, I got a crossover, I don't have a crossover. You're going to be able to tell that. But once again, it still comes to acoustics, you know, what's going to sound better. So that's one way to do it. Obviously, there's, you know, another way. In fact, what's really cool is audio control. We keep talking about audio control. We've got several of their products.
They've kind of been champions of this product category.
Yep. This is the audio control microphone for the iPod with the lightning connector. So now I can plug this into the base, which was charging. If I get it plugged in right. There we are. So now you can see we're using the microphone. So once again, we put that by the speaker. And it's really important to notice that with speakers, where the microphone is, and I don't know if, actually, let's do this one up here because they can probably see it easier. If you watch the response, and I'm not going to talk while we show the response, but I'm going to move the microphone. So that just shows you how important the microphone placement is because of the relationship, the axis of the speaker. Now, when you're tuning a vehicle, so if you really want to tune in a vehicle, you know, for IASCA, for sound quality, it's very important you tune acoustically and with the microphone. You want to tune it left and right channels separately. And people say, why do you tune left and right separately? It's the same music, it's the same car, it's the same speakers, but it all has to do with the placement of the speakers. You're not in the middle of the vehicle. You're closer to one speaker, therefore you're going to be more off axis on the driver's side in the US. Of course, in other countries it might be the other side, and you're going to be more on axis with the speaker that's farther away, but it's farther away. So tuning the speakers left and right is really going to balance that system, and once again, we're all about getting that good image. So as the frequency goes up or down, the image doesn't shift left and right because the speakers have the same response left and right where you're sitting in the vehicle. So that makes that microphone, you know, really important, and of course, you know, the RTA, really important for tuning. Now, some of the RTAs, like the audio control app, and I don't have the audio control app pulled up, but we could pull up the audio control app with this. Let's go ahead and shut off that one, and let's go back.
And I saw it kind of go through, I thought I saw someone ask, the reason you would use a microphone like this and plug it in versus the microphone that's in the iPad itself is this is a much higher quality calibrated microphone that's going to give you more accurate results. It's not that the mic in the iPad doesn't work, as you saw it works okay, but this is going to give you more accurate results.
Absolutely. Now, the nice thing about the audio control app and that microphone, you see the little lines on this, that's actually a stored memory. So you can actually measure the left channel, store it, then acoustically measure the right channel, and you can look to see where it lines up. Does it have too much of this frequency or not enough? Then with your EQ, you can go back and tune those to be the same. Now, it doesn't matter if they're not perfectly flat. You want both the left and right as close to the same curve as possible. They don't have to be perfect, just match the curves. That way, as the frequencies go up or down, one speaker isn't louder than the other, and that keeps your image right in the middle. Very important.
And this curve that John's referring to, that's the curve that you prefer. Whatever you think sounds good in your car. Ideally, though, whatever curve you're dealing with, is as long as you're maintaining no more than 3 dB of variation from frequency band to frequency band, or band of frequencies, really, it's an octave.
On a third octave EQ, you don't want to be any more than 3. So like each one of these dots, from this dot to the next one up, is 3 dB difference. So as long as you drop 1 dot or up 1 dot from frequency to frequency, you're going to be just fine. But as you can see, if we freeze this, so like right here, that's 9 dB difference from this LED to this LED. That would be unacceptable. And same thing, when you got a big drop, you're going to hear that.
And that's where you would do some crossover point massaging, you do some equalization, a little bit of dip,
a lot
of
different
cut.
tricks.
Exactly.
Just to get it closer together. And you don't want that ruler flat response.
Right.
So we've talked about, obviously the 3050, the benchmark. We talked about, using a tablet or your phone. The only disadvantage with using your phone, well, actually there's 2 of them. One is the screen size. It's a much smaller screen. Of course, Kip's going to make a pizza call.
Oh, I'm always talking on mine. That makes it a horrible tool, but oh well.
And the other thing is the microphone. You have to know if the microphone is going to have a full range input. Some of the devices actually put a crossover on the input to the microphone, so it may never measure a flat response, even if you're playing a flat response.
I have seen that, and different devices have different frequency responses because they put in filters to protect those small speakers and mics.
Exactly. Now, I will tell you, my wonderful laptop over here does have a microphone input. And when I use the microphone input, it's got about 100 hertz, 12 dB per octave roll-off built into the laptop. So I can't measure
You
a
can't
flat
use that for
response.
measuring.
Unless you get creative, and that's where this little guy comes in. This is the Focusrite, and this is basically it's a full range input. It actually plays through the USB jack, not the headphone jack. So now I can get a full range signal into that laptop, and this is like $100. And this is a 1-channel piece, and they make a 2-channel. We won't get into testing for all pass filters because you can do that with a 2-channel as well. But this actually has a level adjust. It's got an input, and then of course the output is actually sent to a program. Now I'm going to step back around the table here.
And while he comes back around, just real quick, that Focusrite piece that John's referring to, what that basically is a high quality preamp that will take an input through the RCA input section and take it over USB into your computer. So you're getting a full bandwidth signal to measure into the computer without any filters or things interacting with that. And that's why you need the Focusrite piece, is it is the interface to get you your unadulterated full range signal into the laptop and then whatever measuring device or software you have. Unadulterated.
Is that a word?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Just testing you. So if I could get the technical pixies in the back there, if they could go ahead and pull up the laptop.
Ernie, bring up the laptop, sir.
And maybe put it in a corner, put us in a corner. Now what you're seeing right here, this is a program called True RTA. It is a free program, but it's limited when it's free. This is the $100 version, which is the full-blown version. Hey, guess what? We're on. It's telling me. There's my reminder.
There, I'm going to dismiss John's reminder for him.
So, and to show you that it is active, as I turn the volume up, you see it move, and you see it drop. So this is telling me I have a flat response coming out from the pink noise card that's playing through the RCA out of the head unit into the Focusrite. So I do have a full range response out of the RCA, this head unit. So I know from the head unit to the RCA, I now have a flat response. So that signal then goes into an amplifier, and if I measured the output of the amplifier, which we did earlier and we showed you it was a flat response, we know that the amplifier is not coloring the sound at all. There's no DSP or crossovers taking place in the amplifier. But if there's a difference between the RCA input and the speaker output of the amplifier, we know there's processing going on, and that's something we got to figure out how to go back and compensate for if it's not what we want. That's why we make so many interface devices, the Key 200, the Key 500, the Key Lock.
And I'm going to definitely throw out a shameless plug here for that product. When John's talking about acoustical versus electrical measurements here with an RTA, let's say you go through these electrical measurements and you're trying to find where to tie in for just a sub. But let's say you look at that signal, and as you start turning the factory radio up, it starts rolling the bass off on the bottom end. this is a place where a key lock would definitely help you, because a key lock put in that position, you run through the testing, it'll basically EQ back up automatically that low bass that's been rolled off as that radio turns, as you turn the factory radio up and that bass rolls off, it'll compensate for that. Let's say that you're trying to take that factory system and you want to get a beautiful aftermarket amplifier speaker system after it. You need that flat response to begin with before you start EQing it to design for your speakers or the environment or the car.
Because it doesn't matter, you know, what you EQ or what you cross over. If you don't have a good signal going in, I mean, you start with crap, you end with crap.
And there's actually an episode where we covered the key lock. I invite you to go back and find that. It's going to be in the YouTube
one of the first
library.
ones.
It is one of the first ones. And that key lock will take that factory output signal, you run through the testing, and it will give you that flat response that you need. That now that's the signal you feed into your processors, your amplifiers, and your speakers. You don't want to start with the peaks and valleys curve out of the factory radio. You want something flat and then tune it to the speakers and you in the car.
Yep.
I just want to highlight that because that is a wonderful place where that key lock fits in.
Yep. All right, I'm going to call on my electrical pixies in back. There you go. Look, they're reading my mind.
They are on it.
This is another audio control. This is like an audio control commercial. Chris, I hope you enjoy us for this. I mean, I will expect that check pretty shortly. But yeah.
Well, he sent me $50 already. Didn't he tip you too, John? I'm sorry.
Sorry
about that, Chris. I shouldn't have told him about that check.
So no, I mean, it's going to sound like an audio control commercial, but once again, these guys really have it figured out. So this is called the RTA. And this is a product that will allow us to test many different facets of, you know, output signals and levels. So once again, you see the RTA up here on the top. I'll use my little cursor. I guess it's going to be delayed. I'll have to watch the screen, not the TV. So it's got RTA. It has a voltmeter. It has an SPL meter. We won't talk about that, or the polarity checker, but it also has an oscilloscope. Now, a voltmeter is very important for, you know, determining the output, and, you know, of course, you know, SPL, how loud it is. But once again, the oscilloscope will actually show you clipping. That's where it's most important. So you really need a voltmeter, you need an oscilloscope, and you need an RTA to do audio correctly.
Right.
And the RTA does all of it. I mean, that's the cool thing about it. Now, you know, if you spring for the big ticket, I'm going to sneak behind you.
No, go right ahead, John.
This is really cool. This is something else Chris sent us.
John's like a kid in a candy store, folks. Once he
This
gets
is the
going, you
carrying
can't
case
stop him.
That basically plugs to the RTA. So it's a great little tool. I think it's $8.99 for everything.
Sure, whatever you say.
Yeah, I think that's where it was, but that is awesome. So let's go back to the actual screen. So here we are. So let's turn the volume up.
I disconnect the speakers so we don't have to hear them. So that way we can do this without being overridden.
Yes, we can.
Because I'll type down. There's the pink noise if you want to hear it, but I'm going to turn it off.
So you can see right now that, you know, we got a pretty good flat frequency response. Well, how much power is going to this right now? We can get the voltmeter, and we got 1/3 of a volt. As you turn the volume up, you'll see that increase.
Absolutely.
And that's measuring the speaker output from this Kenwood radio. You can also see the oscilloscope, so you can see the signal. So if I was going to play a test tone, you can then set the gain on whatever, whether it's an amplifier, a crossover, an EQ, you can adjust the gain so the signal's not clipped. So this piece allows you to do everything, but you're still looking at 2,900. We're getting there.
Yeah.
But we need to figure out how we can get, you know, the signal. I mean, acoustically, you know, got a microphone built in your phone, your tablet, anything, and of course a microphone built in my laptop. But that's not going to tell us the signal. So, you know, I'm not saying that, you know, it isn't worth buying these products, as it absolutely is, especially the fact that RTA does all these different functions. You get 5 different functions for $8.99 with the case. I mean, that's incredible.
And the cool part is with that all being built in that one function, basically you're tying in to the speaker leads one time, and you can just select what you want to measure on the laptop. So you don't have to tie in a multimeter, you don't have to tie in an RTA.
Exactly.
You don't have to tie in all the different tools. It's all there.
Yeah, I mean, and this thing's so cool, it actually does 1/4 inch and XLR.
So it's a professional grade piece.
Yeah, it's basically professional, and it's got a battery built in. And that's one of the problems we were running into, just to let you guys know. We're mixing AC and DC and ground points. There can be some noise. Just remember, on an RTA, if you have no signal going in, you got a little bit of reading on the graph, that's just noise. Electronic noise. You don't hear it, but it's actually measurable. As long as you turn the signal up above where that noise is, that is an accurate signal. It just completely, you know, negates the noise. Yeah, so you don't see the noise. So that's very important. But the next thing I guess we need to get down to, because we're already at, you know, 8:35.
Oh, I know. I'm watching the clock, John, but we're good.
We could have so much time. We could spend a lot of time on this. In fact,
here's the thing, whatever we don't get into tonight, we can always have you back on another show, so don't sweat that.
Oh, good. Then I'm going to drag it out because I want to come back because this is fun. But we got
You just want to come back for the Chipotle.
Yes.
I knew it.
Occasionally, the Texas Roadhouse.
I knew it.
Yeah. So
food is the direct pipeline to getting someone to commit.
What if, especially me, so what if you're budget minded? And I'm not saying you're cheap, you just don't have a lot of money to spend. This is still an absolutely incredibly useful and important tool. I'd say it's the fourth most important tool you can have doing car audio with today's new DSP computer controlled systems. So how can you do this without having to spend $900, $1,800? We've come up with a way to do this. In fact, it's
this is cool.
Really kind of cool, and it's very simple. It's under $100, guys. Not counting the tablet or the phone. I mean, you got to have that. So
I'm gonna pull it up here. You keep talking, John.
Let's pull it out. And
okay.
Here it is. Basically, it is a set of test meter leads. So basically, your digital voltmeter. Take the leads.
And keep in mind that these are probes or leads, but you can also get the pinching leads
we're
to
going to
attach
go to
them.
that too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we'll get there. You're
okay.
jumping the gun.
I'm sorry, John. Let me get back to my drink.
So what we're doing is we're taking these leads and we're taking one of our key locks, which is the KICKER line output converter, and we're tying the positives together and the negatives together. So I'm basically running mono signal into this, and I'm not just bragging about, hey, you got to have a KICKER key lock, but one thing you just saw, no matter where the volume control is, it's a flat response. So as you turn the volume up and down, the bass and treble don't roll off, because a less expensive unit that may use, transformers or resistors, they're going to start narrowing that bandwidth. So as you turn it up, the high and low frequencies are going to drop off. This one does not do that, and it handles 55 watts of power.
And we showed this on another Unmasked episode with live testing. It was the one where we kind of touched on RTAs on the key and the key lock. And this is one of, if not the only devices in the marketplace that's a high to low converter that is amazingly, and it gives you flat from 20 to 20.
And it's under $30.
And it's under $30. I mean, we even showed on that show other brand converters, and they do exactly what you're talking about. They roll off the top end, they roll off the bottom. So the reason John's choosing it is obviously it's a KICKER product, but it is an accurate KICKER product.
And even if it wasn't a KICKER product, I'd be using that one.
It's a good piece.
So from there, we basically go from speaker level. So I can take these and I can probe any speaker. And as you kind of brought up that point, what if you need some way to hook into a speaker wire?
Yes.
What if there's no connector you can get the cable in?
I jumped the gun, I'm sorry.
That's why they make these. And I don't know if Tim can zoom in on this. There we go, little camera. So this is actually a device that will allow you, let's unscrew it here. Yep, disconnect that speaker. So you've got a pair of tongs here. You pull those back and allows you to drop a wire into that groove. And then when you let that clamps the wire. But by screwing this portion down, tightening it, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little pin here that will pierce the jacketing. So it allows you to make contact with the wire. Now, they're set up so you could literally plug that right in. So now you can tap into the wires and you don't have to hold these, and it's going to have great connection. Now, these are about $40, but that's a very good investment, but you don't have to have them. So we go from the test leads, skipping right along. So you're looking at $10, $20 for a good set of test leads. Cut the ends off, go into the key lock, which is going to be, the KISS lock, which is going to get too many numbers up here, letters. It's going to give you the good signal, takes it from speaker level, drops it down to low level, which is line level, RCA level. Now we're going to take that to a 3.5 cable, and why don't you go ahead and unplug that other piece and hold it up by itself.
Sure.
This is the magic bullet, guys. This is the part you have to make this whole thing work.
So everyone see this, obviously this is the other end of that RCA to 3.5 millimeter cable.
RCA to 3.5, just unplug it.
So this is 3.5, and this is the magic sauce right here. And what does this do, John?
This is what they call a line to mic adapter. They're offered from a website called Headset Buddy. This is $20. This, like I say, this is the second most important, the most expensive, but probably the most important piece. So inside this little barrel right here, it takes it from line level down to microphone level. So it's another step down, but more importantly, it gives you the microphone sleeve, so it will activate the microphone inside your laptop or your tablet or your phone. So it allows you to take speaker level signal, run it into the microphone with a free app or an inexpensive app. And the app we're using over here, Octave RTA, was $5. I mean, and the only reason I bought that was the first one I opened up, looked at it and say, hey, it works great. So I've stuck with that one, and it doesn't matter what RTA app you use. It doesn't matter if you, even what you saw, the true RTA that I had up before, that $100 option actually does a 24th octave.
I know, it's pretty crazy.
It is absolutely just really detailed, and it's got an oscilloscope built in, and it does 2 channels of oscilloscope, so you can actually see time alignment. But for $100, you know, for that application, it's a great software piece.
So basically, I'm going to stop you there real quick. So if I already have an iPad sitting around, for under or right at about $100, I can have an RTA that will let me look accurately at the electrical signals in the car and find where I need to tap things into.
Exactly. Because what you want to do, to break this down, to make it really simple, you play pink noise in your source, measure the output at the source or at the speaker. You can measure it at either place to see if you have a full range signal. Now, if it's a low pass signal, say it's a factory radio that's got a 250 hertz low pass crossover, so it's not playing mid range or treble, but you're only going to hook up a subwoofer, you're good to go. Use it. But if you're trying to hook a full range amplifier up to it, it plays 250 down, obviously it's not going to be great. By the same token, if you've got, say, a lot of the factory radios, not the premium radios, just the basic radios, even if they only have 4 speakers, a lot of times they're putting in a roll-off like we talked about, 60, 80, hertz, 6 or 12 dB per octave, so they're taking all the bass out of that. You can see that, hey, this has got a bass roll-off. Well, how do you solve that? Once again, the Key 501 or the key lock will actually restore that signal, so it's going to tell you, hey, it's not adequate just to put a subwoofer amplifier in, unless it's the Key 500, but you have to basically reconstruct or recondition that signal before you amplify it to get the proper sound.
And obviously, us being Kicker, we design products, we make products, we sell products, we train on how to use the products. We have an in-house tech support team that take calls from the field all the time. And trust me, we get calls, and those calls are, I've put in a subwoofer amplifier, I've put in a subwoofer, or I've put in a hideaway, an HS8 or an HS10, because those are very common upgrades for people who just want to get a little bass into their OE car. And they're like, but I don't have any bass. And when you walk through and talk through and finally get them to be able to get the right tools and figure things out, or go to a store that has the right tools, they can help them. They're tied into an input in that car that doesn't have bass in the signal. So you can't amplify what's not there.
Yep.
It kind of goes back to what you were saying.
So, and that breaks it down. And something we haven't shown you, but we talked about the fact we're using a flash drive and a WAV file. We were doing it earlier where I was actually using my phone, and I can measure the speaker output of my phone, and it is ruler flat. So I know the output of this phone is flat, so this is a good source to start. I can send the signal out of my phone into the radio. You measure out of the radio, it's ruler flat. I can go back to the amplifier without the crossover, and it's showing ruler flat. But with this phone, if I Bluetooth that pink noise source to the radio, there is a significant roll-off in the high frequencies. And if it starts here rolling off, it's not going to get any better down the line. So that's why you always want to use the best source possible, which is, you can download the files on kicker.com under the support tab.
Sure.
Under test tones, there's 50 hertz, 1K, there's pink noise. Of course, there's all the setup tones for the key lock and the Key 500. So remember, guys, it's not about having really expensive tools, but having good tools and knowing how to use them.
Deviant for life, he just wants a key and a pizza next week, apparently. So that's what he's asking for. Someone asked in the thread, and I try to keep up with this thread that's going by. He said, do you have to adjust the pots on the key or the KISS lock?
Now, you can. Since we're not specifically measuring the voltage or the dB, we're just looking at the general response. If you've got a radio that doesn't have a lot of output, you might want to turn those gains up a little bit. But if you've got a high power radio, it might overwhelm your RTA, so you might want to turn those down. But it will not affect the frequency response. What you get is what you get. It just affects how it reads on the display, how loud it reads.
Cornut, he just replied here. He says, I installed a Key 200 and a Key 500 in a family member's car. They were amazing. CS fronts and rears, Comp R10, no DSP, factory radio, and it sounds great. That's what that product's designed for, Cornut, is the entire key line, like the Kissels and the KISS locks, which those are not active interface devices. The key products are active. It's all designed to try to get you the best sound possible out of interfacing into that OE radio. We've stressed it on shows in the past, and we're going to continue to stress it on shows in the future. The days of a factory radio being, quote-unquote, bad sound, they're really not there. What you're dealing with is the radios today typically have good bandwidth, 20 to 20. Up until clipping, it's a good signal. signal. They can be very simple with just front and rear output, or they can be complex like a 17-speaker system. So what you have to be able to do is you have to go in there and you have to figure out and probe, where do I get my signal to go to my new amplifiers, my new DSP, my new speakers. And if you go in blind, if you don't have the tools to do that, I guarantee you're going to get bad sounding audio. It's just a fact.
It's going to be a lot of trial and error before you find something that works.
A whole lot. And you know, that's another cool thing, and I know you've seen it because I've even seen you bring this up, the key lock. One of the cool parts about the key lock is it's real simple. It just has 3 LEDs, high, mid, low.
Yep, and it's 20 to 200, 200 to 2K, 2K to 20K. So it basically is a 3-band RTA built into that piece for $129.
Exactly. So even if you just, I mean, we have dealers that just leave a key lock sitting on the shelf in their install bay, and they just use it as a diagnostic tool to find the right wires.
Because it's got 40 volt or 400 watt input.
Exactly.
I mean, you can connect it to just damn near anything.
To just about anything you can connect it to.
It'll give you at least the 3-band. Now, it's not going to tell you if you got a dip or a peak somewhere, but it will tell you, do I have a subwoofer signal? Do I have a mid-range signal? Do I have a treble signal? Do I have a combination of, any 2 of those, or do I have a full-range signal?
You know, I want to answer this one. It kind of ties in, but I'm going with the Key 204 and the 500 from my wife's car. The key works great for a vehicle with start-stop technology. El Fuego, I'm glad you brought that up because that is a question that I don't think people fully understand when we say start-stop technology. And if you look at our CX line amplifiers, you look at the key products of 200, the 500, the key lock itself, these are all designed to work in a start-stop vehicle scenario. And what we mean when we say that is if you have a vehicle that you pull up to a stoplight or a stop sign and the motor turns off.
God, I hate that.
And then when you take your foot off the brake and hit the gas, it immediately starts back up and you truck on down the highway. That's called a start-stop vehicle. And the reason it's a big deal is when that vehicle turns off, no problem. Most audio gear will continue to play for that 30 to 90 seconds you're sitting at a stoplight or whatever.
Because of the battery.
Because of the battery. But once that starter kicks over to start that vehicle, the voltage in that car can dip as low as 6.5 volts. And most all car audio electronics are not designed to stay operational. I mean, if you look at KX, IQ, 9.5, 10.5 volts.
10.5 is actually their regulated cutoff.
Yeah, we
too
turn
low
them
voltage will actually damage the amplifiers.
Correct. So what we've been doing is we move forward and come up with new amplifier designs and technology. We're trying to make it compatible with start-stop, simply meaning that when you kick that car back over, it will still stay on. The product won't shut off. It'll stay operational. It won't turn off. You don't have to worry about turn on, turn off pops or any of those things happening because it just stays on.
Turn off. And the Key 200, 4 was actually the 180, and the Key 200 was the first piece of car audio equipment that was certified to play down to 6 volts.
Absolutely.
I mean, it will not shut off at 6 volts, and obviously the key lock will do that in the Key 500. So all the key products are designed to operate. We don't recommend you put a 6-volt battery on it and operate it. It's not going to give you full potential, but it will not shut off.
So hopefully out of tonight's show, and of course I tend to be the clock watcher to make sure we try to keep in right at that 90 minutes, guys. I try to keep it in because I know you watch other shows and things, so I try to keep it concise. But if we can wrap up tonight's show, probably the key, no pun intended here, the keys to the kingdom here are, if you're going to interface into any modern vehicle, you really need an RTA so you know what you're interfacing into. If you're going to want to tune the vehicle, if you're going to want to try to do, whether it's center imaging or you're just trying to balance out the frequency response so that it has a natural timbre from the very low to the very high without one frequency being exaggerated, you need an RTA. Now, whether you need to own one or not is kind of a personal choice. Obviously, the DM RTA for audio control is a professional grade piece. I mean, there's probably every shop you walk into that's an audio control dealer, I guarantee they have one in their bay because they're using this tool on a daily basis.
Well, the other cool thing about this piece, it's got USB, it's got digital in and digital out. I mean, it's a great piece. It allows you to pretty much test any cable or any output. It
absolutely does, and another popular channel I know you guys tune into because I see you on there, anything from Dean and Fernando, they use the DM RTA all the time. It is a fantastic professional tool to get you down the highway.
And a cool blue case.
A cool blue case. The next option that John showed you, with the Focusrite, this is, hey, I've already got a laptop. I just want to be able to probe around the car. If you get the Focusrite piece, that's going to allow you to do that. It's a high quality preamp, so you can get right in over USB into your laptop. You can then download or purchase whatever RTA. I mean, True RTA is a really good piece of software.
Oh yeah, and I enjoy that because of the oscilloscope. And if you've got a laptop and you measure it, I mean, my laptop before this one, I could run the microphone into it, work just fine. This one, there was a significant roll-off, 12 dB per octave at 100 hertz, which told me there was a crossover built into the microphone input. That's why I had to use the Focusrite, and that's still only $100. And
so it's only $100.
Doesn't matter. Anything that's got a USB input, that'll work great with.
Absolutely. And then when you get down into something like this, not that we're putting this up here, like this is where it all started. This is kind of the king of the hill.
Yeah, that's the golden child.
But when you get into, most everyone today either has or has access to someone who has an iPad or an iPad mini. Or phone, even a phone. But
not a flip phone.
Not a flip, well, unless you're Greg Dilbeck. But that's another story we'll get to later.
Compatible.
It's still not compatible.
He wouldn't know how to work it anyway.
No, he's
sorry, Greg, but you would.
But you can get one of these, and for under $100, you can put together a system that'll let you probe around safely and effectively in that car's audio system wiring and find what signals are going where so that you know where to tie in. And I think this, John, is a wonderful device, what you showed him here. So whatever your price point, whatever your budget is, whether you're looking to buy a professional tool to own for years, or if you just need something to get in your car, you need to borrow something to get down the highway, you need to seriously look at what an RTA can do for you, because a lot of people, the first thing they'll talk about is a voltmeter, and a voltmeter is another valuable tool you need to have. But a standard voltmeter will not help you find what frequency of bands are playing in your car. It just won't.
And neither will an oscilloscope.
And neither will an oscilloscope. Good point. So an RTA is a fantastic tool. We've just touched the surface on what an RTA is good for in this show, and we'd be more than happy to do another episode that covers RTAs and goes even deeper with John, because trust me, we can pull this cord and let him run for 90 minutes, no problem at all. He's good at it.
Absolutely.
So, John, is there anything else, real quick? We're getting close to the end of the show. Is there anything else you want to add to that as far as a wrap up on these tools?
Nope. I think that pretty much says it all. An RTA is extremely important, especially with the new vehicles, but even with older vehicles. Even some of the radios that, like I say, if you've got a radio, so I know some, not knocking brands, but some of the Ford radios had that automatic bass roll off. People say, hey, as I turn the volume up, the bass rolls off. Well, one of the advantages of using an RTA is you can actually see at what point you get to the volume where if you turn it up any louder, the bass stays and everything else gets louder. So to get the maximum volume out of that system without any bass cutoff, you want to run the output of the radio to that point where it's flat, and then set your gains on your amplifier from that point.
That way you don't have to deal with the roll-off.
Exactly.
Another thing, okay, we'll do that. You got me. Camera guy, it's all on you. So and this is kind of a tip. If you guys out there are doing a system in your car, and if you've kind of talked yourself into, you're going to use a key lock. So if you've kind of said, I'm going to put a key lock in so that I can get rid of that equalization of the factory radio and then go from there into whatever product you want to use, whether it's KICKER amps, other products, other amps from other companies, a DSP from another company, whatever you're going to do. If you know you're going to use a key lock, the cool part about that is you buy the key lock, and that key lock will tell you and help you find that full range signal you need in that system because of the 3 LEDs built in. Now, it's not going to be as extensive a tool as something like this to look at roll-offs and the things that John kind of went into, but if you're just wanting to make sure you've got a full range signal, the key lock will do that for you. So if you're going to use a key lock, it is already a tool to help you find that full range signal. So you may not have to invest in these tools if that's what you're wanting to do.
Yeah, well, and of course, we're getting close to the end. I do apologize. There's one probably important thing we forgot to show them.
Oh, what's that?
If you're talking about the DSP, we need to show you what to look for on the RTA as far as the DSP. So let's go ahead and plug this back in.
Sure, let's do it.
This will just take a moment, guys. We got our pink noise, and of course, I don't have my glasses on, so I can't see where we're going here. All right.
You want these plugged into the radio?
Yep, either the radio or the amplifier.
Either one? I'll go into the radio. Scalpel?
So, there you
go.
Okay. So there's our pink noise. We know what that is. So, and obviously we've got to mention, if you're going to do this, look for a flat response. You got to have all your tone controls on the radio set to the flat
I'll work
position.
with Timmy here, and if he's going to zoom in on this, I'll get a good
So audio control, we're going to go to the EQ. Actually, let's go back.
Is that good, Tim?
We don't want manual EQ. We want the preset EQ. So now I can change it. So user is flat. If I go to rock, you notice how that EQ has changed. That's the DSP EQ. Let's go to another setting. Easy listening. You see, it's changed the EQ again. No, we're going to top 40. No, don't even sing top 40. Once again, top 40's got a completely different response curve, but that is showing us, hey, we don't have a flat response, and it could be due to the pre-programmed, DSP in the radio that you can't control, or like I say in the aftermarket, you can control those, but that's what you're looking for. You're looking for something that's not flat and it's not rolled off. It's just got kind of a wonky, is that a good?
Well, I like
wonky curve.
Peaks and valleys, roll-offs.
There you go.
Things pulled off on the top or bottom, variations. Yeah, that's absolutely what you're looking for. So guys, seriously, we hope you enjoyed. Man, this is a topic that we could spend probably 10 shows talking about.
Can we?
Well, you heard John. But seriously, if you enjoyed this and you want to see more about this, throw that into the comment feed. We'd love to hear that because we can go even a little bit deeper. We can bring in different products to test and things like that, but show you the importance of. I hope you walk away from this knowing that an RTA is not just a pinkies up or a snobby tool for people who are just chasing a flat line. An RTA is a tool that you need to use to interface into any OE system today. You need to use it so that you can smooth out and tailor the frequency response of the car acoustically so that it sounds natural to you. It is a very valuable tool. You can obviously get into an RTA at many different price points, and I thank John for bringing in these different examples of it. So wherever your entry point is, you can obviously get into an RTA, and it can be affordable for you. And if you're just wanting, hey, you've already made a decision, I'm throwing in a key lock. That right there will help you find that full range signal because it's got those 3 LEDs. When they all 3 light up, you've got the full range signal. If they don't, you need to keep finding the next pair of speaker wires.
Well, talking about, working together in such a great team, that mic to line adapter, we got to give Josh Fletcher credit for finding that.
Oh, yeah,
I talked about doing it. He was the one that found that online and said, hey, would this work? It's like, hell yeah, that's what we need. But, there's so much more we can do. In fact, even with any of these pieces up here, there's actually a way to test for all-pass filters. So we're not going to get into that or what they are, but we have the capability, even with the piece we made up, with one more set of test leads, we can actually check for all-pass filters and measure where they're at.
Okay, wait a minute. This is my segue for this. Craft Chest, my takeaway is that KIP has mid-range vocals from 100 to 240 hertz. And here's my response to that. Are you ready? We got a good show for you tonight. Yeah. So
twisted. That's what we like.
It's okay. So with that said, I know that we have some winners. We have a contest
we got stuff
going.
to give away.
We got
I need
some
to
stuff
shut
to give
up
away.
So we give stuff away.
So here's what I'm going to do, John. I'm going to have you help me. I don't want these on camera yet. I'm going to give these to you.
Okay.
You hang on to these. And since I gave these to John, it's a guarantee that I'll say A and he'll throw B. So at least it'll be fun for us.
Yes.
So go ahead, John. What'd you say? Yes. Besides yes?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Okay. So we are going to have 3 winners tonight. And our friends at Audio Control have definitely kicked in some great stuff.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chris. And seriously, Chris, we would love to have you on the show sometime. So if you'd like to reach out to John, myself, Bill at socialkicker.com, let us know. We'd love to schedule a time when you come join us on the show because we would like to get even more great information from you on the history of Audio Control, maybe the history of what started the SA3050, the whole thing. We'd love to have you on the show. So thank you for even participating with us tonight by providing some great products to put into our giveaway. We sincerely appreciate it.
And some high dollar giveaways.
It is. It's nice. So if I will please, Mr. Bill Brown, would you give me a 3rd place winner up on the screen? Because you're getting so good at this, I think you just read our minds. So winner number 3 is Sean.
Steak knives?
Yeah, steak knives. No, no, not around us. That's another story.
No, don't go there.
Sean F. in Greensburg, Pennsylvania. You are our 3rd place winner tonight. And what you're going to get tonight is a set of EB300 Kicker wireless earbuds. We have one of the beautiful, let me get out of the way here, gray KICKER Unmasked t-shirts. And what's cool about these guys, you can only get the KICKER Unmasked shirt if you are watching the show. We only are going to give these away live on the show, so thank you for tuning in.
If we're on the show, they gave me one finally.
Yeah, well, we gave you one, but you were on the show. So we're going to give you one of those
felt
shirts.
Bad for me.
And we did. John can only give you the sad puppy dog eyes so long before you got to cave in and give him a shirt. And then last but not least, we're going to give you some of those koozies, so whatever your favorite beverage is, you can keep that cold and you're sitting around enjoying that. So thank you for being our 3rd place winner this evening and tuning in. 2nd place, hold on, John, hold on. Let me look. I want to make sure I've got this right. Okay, so it's this one.
Okay.
That one. Okay.
Tell me the white one.
The white. Well, I had to read. I didn't know.
Okay.
I had to look too.
I didn't know either.
Bill, show us who's number 2 on tonight's show. Winner number 2, we got Larry P. in Victoria, Texas. Larry, congratulations.
Chicken
you
dinner?
are a winner. Yeah, winner chicken dinner. Well, we already gave away a pizza dinner, or pizza dinner. So tonight, you're going to get a gray, let me get out of the way again. You're getting a gray Kicker Unmasked shirt in your size as well. And you're getting a pair of koozies. And our good friends at Audio Control have kicked you in. You are going to get the U-Test microphone. So this is the USB. So this will plug into a USB port. But this is the test mic that you can use. So the software that John kind of told you about, whether it's on a laptop, you can plug this in. This is going to be an audiophile lab-grade measurement device. And this is coming along. You have won that for tuning in and watching. So that is for you. Thank you for watching, Larry P. And then this brings us up to our grand prize winner, John.
Hey.
Bill, do us the pleasure. Show us who's number 1 tonight, in everyone's eyes, including ours. Final winner is John K. And whoa.
I'm going to let you do that.
Thanks, John. I'm going to try to get this. Defuniak?
That looks right.
It looks like Defuniak Springs, Florida. So John K., Defuniak Springs, Florida. I feel like I'm going to mess that up, so that's the last time I'm saying it. You are our first place winner tonight, and what you're going to get tonight for being first place winner, we're going to give you a set of koozies as well. So you're getting a set of those koozies. You are going to get a limited edition black Unmasked Live t-shirt. So not the gray one that's behind me, but you're actually going to get one of the limited edition from the very first shows that we did in black. And we are going to give you, now this is going to be cool. I'll turn around. John, you figure.
I'll turn around.
Okay. So here's the front. I feel like Ricky Bobby. What I do with my hands. So here's the front. I can't get the right hand in the right spot. It's like, where's it at? Right here. Kicker. Here, I'm going to turn towards the camera. So we got this lovely patch logo designation here on the front side, and then John is sporting the back side here. This is our new shop shirt. And these are available right now. They are up live on kicker.com. You, my friend, are winning one of these into your first place drawing as well. And that comes courtesy of Mr. Jeremy Wynn, who, if you're not losing, you're winning.
Yep.
And that's his motto.
And that's it, right?
And that's
more?
Well, hold on, maybe.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm done. Also, our first place winner, show him what he's going to get. Our good friends at Audio Control have thrown in.
I don't want to give it up.
You got to, John. Sorry. You can't keep. Call Chris. You are getting an SA4140i SPL measurement microphone, and this will not only do the RTA stuff, but this is made. What's the cap on this? Is it 140 dB or 150?
It's louder than I can hear.
Yeah, it's more than we listen to in our cars on a daily basis. But this is coming along for the ride. Hey, Sandy Moore. Here's a link to the shirt that Kip and John are wearing tonight. Sandy's got the link in there, but this is the new shop shirt. But you are winning that, our first place winner.
Get the old guy glasses out. Maybe I can read it.
There you go. You going to read it, John?
Up to 140 dB.
There you go, 140
dB.
dB.
It's 4140.
Oh, hey.
Smart feller, or fart smeller.
Now you know.
Exactly.
So that is our winners for this evening, and we sincerely cannot say thank you enough to the guys over at Audio Control, the guys and gals, and I don't just say guys, but all the people at Audio Control, thank you for partaking in tonight's show and providing these awesome gifts that we could give out to our first and second place winners tonight. I think that was awesome.
Yep. And Chris Bennett, quit holding out. Come join us.
We want you on the show, Chris.
We want you.
Yeah, so it's a formal invitation. We'd love to have you on the show. Seriously, reach out to us. We'd love to schedule an evening where we can have you come on. And you don't have to be on for the whole show if you don't want to, man. We'd love to just get you on for 15, 30 minutes. Just be great to have you come on and talk about the history of Audio Control, the products and things you guys have got going on, because I know everyone out there, even though this is Kicker Unmasked Live, I know they'd appreciate getting that information, having that kind of fun and camaraderie, and knowing the stories that you got. So think about it.
The whole thing, car audio, I mean, we're all a big family anyway.
We are one big family.
Different companies doesn't mean we're enemies. I mean, just a real quick story. We were doing a mirror event in Kansas City, and I was sitting there. We had somebody from Rockford, we had someone from JL, we had MTX. We were all sitting there having lunch, during the middle of the show, and these two guys walk in, and their faces just go white. Like, what are you doing? Like, having lunch.
A beer.
Like, you guys hate each other. It's like, what? We're all looking at each other and laughing. We don't hate. We just work for different companies. But it's such a neat environment to be in. And like I say, we're lucky enough that this has been our careers forever. So.
Yeah. All right. You and I have been here for the same length of time.
Yes,
We've been
we
here,
have.
and John is
half a century combined.
Yeah, and John is sincerely one of my best friends here, and I love spending time with John. And I'm really I'm honored, and you guys should be excited that we get someone like John to come and spend some time with us, share that knowledge.
Or bewildered.
Yeah, or sometimes bewildered. But you bring up the story thing, so I'm going to call him out by name because I can. So Steve Teresi, JL Audio, down in Miramar, Florida.
Love you, Steve.
Love you, Steve, and I consider him a friend.
Me too.
I've broken bread with Steve and had drinks with Steve, and you talk about that there. And it was at Mira Knowledge Fest, and I think it was in Indianapolis, and a distributor there was having an after party. So it was a whole show, and they picked a night, and they had a party where everyone could come and hang out at the party. So this party started, and it's food and drinks, and the whole thing's going on. So we show up, and of course I see Steve, and Steve sees me, and we wave each other and go up. So Steve and I are just sitting at the bar, and I'm drinking, and he's drinking, and we're just chit-chatting about, and most of the stuff is, some of it's car audio, and some of it's not car audio. It's just a couple of guys talking. And what's funny is we're sitting there, and finally Steve looks over at me and says, "Are you noticing this too?" And I looked at him and said, "Oh yeah." And what was happening is people would walk by, and then they'd stop, and they knew I worked for Kicker, and they knew he worked for jail, and they'd stop, and you'd see him.
Yeah.
And so the next day, so he'll appreciate the room where I had people come and said it was either one of two stories. Either Steve was coming to work for Kicker, or I was going to work for JL, because they're like, why are these two guys talking?
Yeah, or JL bought Kicker, or Kicker bought JL. There's always those stories going on. Hey, aren't you guys owned by? No, we're not. We're owned by the same guy. We have been since '73.
So shout out to Steve Teresi. I had to share that story. John kind of pulled that up from my memory banks, but it is a small industry, and a lot of us know each other.
Thank you for this COVID stuff. I mean, we're jonesing to go out and get with our industry buddies again. So
absolutely.
Let's get this country back on the right track. We're not getting political. Just get rolling and go back to having fun.
Hey, Basehead 30, I just want to read this out. He said, keep up the great words, gets better and better. Still holding it down, giving away every live stream. You guys are awesome. Third Era, thank you. One of the benefits for you guys, appreciate guys. Hey, Mike, thank you. These videos and product course are awesome, man. We appreciate the feedback. Thank you, Mike. Jeremy, if you have any more, throw them up there. Feel free to go for it. But, this last year has been a challenge for a lot of us. The lockdowns, the restrictions, we had to pull back as a company. A lot of the live events we do on the field, we had to, just not do. And so we've basically been able to do this.
Thumper 1968.
Thumper 1968. Pow, right in the kicker.
That's awesome. One of these days, Alice.
One of these days.
Pow, right in the kicker.
That's a good show we got for you today, folks. So we sincerely love doing this. It's fun for us. We hope you guys get something out of it. We love talking about not just Kicker product, but we love talking about application, how you can use tools like this and get better sound in your car. And, not being out in the field last year, we've been able to shift some of that budget. So the drawings and the giveaways we're doing, it's because we were able to shift some of those budget dollars from what we're doing then and doing this here. And so,
and the whole show.
Yeah,
really.
The whole show, really. So a huge, huge shout out if he's tuned in and watching, and he does tune in to watch these sometime, is Mr. Steve Irby. He's the owner and founder of Stillwater Designs Kicker, and he still comes to work every day. This is his baby. There's nothing he loves more than designing these products. And then Jay Ralston, he's the general manager. He's kind of Steve's bad guy.
Yeah, you're sucking up now.
Yeah, I am, but at least I'm being honest about
yes,
the suck
you are.
up. But really, it's those two guys that control the purse strings and let us do the things we do. So big shout out to them. It's why I want you guys to give us a thumbs up, because it just lets those guys know that you truly appreciate what we're doing. You love the show and you love the content, and that helps us keep on doing these things. Kicker kicks it up a notch every time. We sure try to. We give it our best. We give it our best kick. No pun intended. So with that said,
do we really have to end?
No, we don't have to, but we're going to.
Okay.
With that said, we are just running about 5 minutes over, which is plenty for me. Thanks, Steve Irby, for making all this possible. Living with Andy, thank you for the shout out, Andy. As everyone, thank you, Mr. John Myers, for joining us this evening. We call him Dr. 12 Volt here in the studio.
Well, call me other things elsewhere, but
that's true.
Some of it to my face.
And some of it, and some of it's only true if you think about it long enough. But myself, Kip Litzy, John Myers here in front of the camera. We got Mr. Tim Smith. He does a fantastic job moving and focusing on this, trying to keep us on our toes. We got Bill Brown running social and answering questions in the back, as always. We have Ernie, the master Ficklin, on the keys back there. He's the guy in charge of all the switching. And Jeremy Wynn, he's our events manager, and he is back there making sure it all runs as smooth as it can. All of us are proud to be the people here telling you from all the other employees of Stillwater Designs, thank you for tuning in tonight. We hope you had a great time. We sure did. We will see you next week, 7:30 Central Time, right here on the Kicker Facebook and YouTube channels for episode, is it going to be 18 or 19? We'll have to check.
I don't know, I missed a few.
Man, we're getting up there.
We're old.
We are old. So we've had a great time tonight, folks. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you next week. Check the teaser that's coming out. I'll let you know it's coming. Until then, thanks as always. Be safe and have fun. Catch you on the next one.